I met a one-legged lady at the bar. Out of curiosity, I asked her how she lost her leg. Well, it's due to me being a great negotiator. Do tell. You see, I had a business trip down to Brazil, and I was able to get a private pilot to fly me for a quarter of the cost of a commercial airline. Unfortunately, the plane malfunctioned and we crash-landed in the Amazon. Ah, so you cheaped out and lost your leg in the crash. No, we were both perfectly fine. However, we landed in a territorial tribe's land. They were going to kill us, but with my amazing negotiation skills, we got out alive. You convinced them to only take a leg? What? No. They let us go in exchange for a bag of chips I had on me. They even escorted us out of the jungle and pointed us in the direction of the nearest city. Unfortunately, during the trek to civilization, I got a severe infection in my foot. Ah, so you lost your leg to an infection. Goodness, no. I had some antibiotics on me, so I was able to keep it well enough until we reached the city. I wasn't able to make a full recovery, though, and had to return to the U.S. immediately for medical attention. Fortunately, they were able to help me, and I am now healthier than ever. That doesn't explain anything. Why is your leg gone then? Well, the medical bill was going to cost me an arm and a leg, but I managed to negotiate it down to just the leg.
John goes to the golf course to try to get a couple of rounds. He ends up getting paired with a priest, and off they go to play. On the third hole, John misses an easy shot and yells, "Damn, I missed!" The priest scolds John for using that kind of language and reminds him that God is always watching. They continue playing and it happens again. "Damn, I missed!" Again, the priest scolds John, this time telling him, if you continue using that language, God himself is going to strike you with a lightning bolt. John shrugs it off and they continue playing. Later on, it happens a final time. "Damn, I missed!" Suddenly, the heavens opened up, and a finger pointed through the clouds, igniting a single lightning bolt, which crackled and blasted straight towards the golf course, striking and killing the priest. John looked down at the priest, and then up at the clouds in confusion. A profound voice echoed from above. "Damn, I missed!"
So a woman starts dating a doctor, and before long, she becomes pregnant. They're not sure what to do about it. About 9 months later, just as she's about to give birth, a priest is admitted to the hospital for a prostate gland infection. The doctor comes up with an idea. He says to the woman, "I have a plan. After I operate on the priest, I'll give the baby to him and tell him it was a miracle. Do you really think that will work?" The woman asks. "It's worth a try," the doctor replies. So, the doctor delivers the baby and then performs the surgery on the priest. After the operation, he goes to the priest and says, "Father, you're not going to believe this." "What is it?" asks the priest. "What happened?" The doctor says, "You gave birth to a child." The priest is shocked. "But that's impossible." "I know it sounds unbelievable, but I just did the operation," the doctor insists. "It's a miracle. Here's your baby." About 15 years pass, and the priest realizes he needs to tell his son the truth. One day, he sits the boy down and says, "Son, I have something important to tell you. I'm not actually your father." The boy looks confused and says, "What do you mean, you're not my father?" The priest takes a deep breath and replies, "I'm actually your mother. The archbishop is your father." So one fine day, a bus driver went to the bus garage, started his bus, and began his route. Everything was running smoothly. People got on, people got off, and all was well. Then, at the next stop, a huge guy climbed on board. He was about 6'8", built like a wrestler, with arms that looked like they could touch the floor. He glared at the driver and said, "Big John doesn't pay," before stomping to the back of the bus. The driver didn't argue. Who would? But he wasn't happy about it. The next day, the same thing happened. Big John got on, announced he wasn't paying, and took his seat at the back. And the day after that, and the day after that. This went on for weeks, and it was really getting under the driver's skin. Finally, the driver had enough. He started taking bodybuilding classes, karate, judo, everything. By the end of the summer, he was in the best shape of his life and ready to stand up for himself. Monday morning came, and Big John got on the bus, just like always. Big John doesn't pay, he bellowed. But this time, the driver jumped up, muscles bulging, and shouted back, "Oh yeah, and why not?" Big John looked surprised, then said calmly, "Big John has a bus pass." So one afternoon, my buddy John and I were having drinks and reminiscing about past relationships. I mentioned that I once broke up with a girl because she had a speech impediment. John looked surprised and said, "Bob, I never thought you'd be the type to judge someone based on their disabilities." What was her problem? I took a sip of my drink and said, "She couldn't say yes." So I was speeding in my Corvette earlier when a cop put his blue lights on and pulled me over. He came to the window and asked, "Do you know why I've pulled you over?" I looked at my car, then looked at his police car and replied, "Because I let you." So a man gets pulled over by the police for speeding. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" The policeman asks. "Because I robbed a bank," the man says. The policeman stares. "Really?" "Yes, the money's in the trunk." The policeman nervously says, "Anything else in the car I should know about?" "There's also a dead body in the trunk," the man says, "and a gun in the glove box." The policeman yells, "Step out of the vehicle, now," and calls for reinforcements. A SWAT team arrives, and they search the car from top to bottom. A SWAT officer says to the policeman, "He appears to have no gun, no stolen money, and no dead body." The man says, "And I bet that liar told you I was speeding too." So, a tough old cowboy once gave his grandson some sage advice. If he wanted to live a long life, he should sprinkle a pinch of gunpowder on his oatmeal every morning. The grandson followed this advice religiously and lived to the ripe old age of 110. He left behind 4 children, 20 grandchildren, 30 great-grandchildren, and 40 great-great-grandchildren, and a 50-foot crater where the crematorium used to be. So a small boy named Peter lived in the local village. None of his classmates liked him because of his stupidity, especially his teacher, who was always yelling at him, "You are driving me crazy, Peter." One day, Peter's mother came into school to check on how he was doing. The teacher told his mother honestly that her son is simply a disaster, getting very low marks, and even she had never seen such a dumb boy in her entire teaching career. The mother was shocked at the feedback and withdrew her son from the school and even moved to another town. 25 years later, the teacher was diagnosed with an incurable cardio disease. All the doctors strongly advised her to have an open heart operation, which only one surgeon could perform. Left with no other options, the teacher decided to have the operation, which was successful. When she opened her eyes, after the surgery, she saw a handsome doctor smiling down at her. She wanted to thank him, but could not talk. Her face started to turn blue. She raised her hand, trying to tell him something, but eventually died. The doctor was shocked and was trying to work out what went wrong. When he turned around, he saw Peter working as a cleaner in the clinic who had unplugged the oxygen equipment to connect his Hoover. Don't tell me you thought that Peter became a damn doctor.
In a quiet neighborhood, there was a resident who suddenly heard an alarming and terrible noise coming from the apartment next door. Worried about what was happening, the neighbor quickly decided to call the police, hoping they could handle whatever situation was occurring. Soon after the call, the police arrived at the scene, ready to investigate the source of the disturbance. They approached the door of the noisy apartment and knocked firmly, announcing their presence. To their surprise, the door was opened by a woman. In her hands, she held a golf club, specifically a 5-iron, which was covered in blood. As the police entered, they noticed a man lying motionless on the floor of the living room. The scene was shocking, and the officers immediately checked to see if there was any chance the man was still alive. One of the officers, after examining the man, turned to the woman and said, "He's dead." Then, seeking to understand the situation, he asked her, "Ma'am, is this your husband?" The woman, looking distressed, nodded and replied with a quivering voice, "That is correct, yes." The police, trying to piece together what had happened, asked her directly, "Did you just hit him with that golf club?" The woman, tears starting to form in her eyes, admitted, "Yes, I did." She then broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. In her emotional state, she let the blood-stained golf club fall dramatically from her hand to the floor. She stood there, covering her face with her palms, continuing to cry. One of the officers, observing the gruesome scene and the condition of the man on the floor, asked the woman in a serious tone, "Wow, he's a mess. Can you tell me how many times you hit him?" The woman, amidst her tears and distress, managed to reply, "I don't know. Put me down for a 5. Farmer Brown and his wife had a day like any other, working hard in their vast fields. As evening approached and the sky painted itself with the hues of dusk, they started their journey back to their cozy farmhouse. However, something unusual caught their attention. Far off in the distance, amidst their crops, they saw a collection of bizarre and flickering lights. Curious and a bit cautious, Farmer Brown and his wife decided to investigate. As they drew closer, they couldn't believe their eyes. Right there, in the middle of their field, was a spaceship, gently descending to the ground. The couple exchanged bewildered glances, wondering if this was some kind of dream. To their amazement, 2 aliens emerged from the spaceship. These extraterrestrial beings approached the couple with a friendly demeanor. They explained that they were conducting research on human life, specifically focusing on human intimate relationships. The aliens then made a rather bold proposition. They wanted to switch partners with Farmer Brown and his wife for the night, purely for research purposes. Farmer Brown and his wife, though initially shocked, found themselves intrigued by this strange request. After a brief discussion, they agreed to the aliens' proposal. The night passed, and the next morning the aliens departed, leaving Farmer Brown and his wife to reflect on their extraordinary experience. Farmer Brown, bursting with curiosity but trying to maintain a casual demeanor, couldn't resist asking his wife about her night. His wife, with a hint of excitement in her voice, admitted that it was the best intimate experience she'd ever had. Farmer Brown, surprised and eager to know more, asked her to elaborate. She described how the alien initially seemed underwhelming, with attributes similar to a human but much smaller. But then, something incredible happened. The alien reached up and twisted his left ear, causing himself to grow significantly in size. Not stopping there, he then twisted his right ear, and to her astonishment, he transformed even further, becoming more impressive than she could have imagined. Upon hearing this, Farmer Brown was taken aback. He recalled his own wild experience and exclaimed, "Shit, no wonder that alien lady was trying to rip my ears off." In a cozy, bustling pub, there was a group of friends gathered around a table, enjoying their drinks and sharing stories. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. One of the men, looking a bit frustrated, decided to share something personal with his mates. He leaned in closer to the group and said, "Guys, you won't believe what's happening at home. My missus has started charging me $50 every time we have a bit of fun together." He shook his head in disbelief, expecting sympathy from his friends. The other guys at the table paused for a moment, exchanged knowing looks, and then one of them, trying to suppress a grin, replied, "That's not bad, mate. She charges us $100.
A teacher walks into her classroom and greets the students. "Good morning, class," the teacher said, smiling and observing her students. Suddenly, she notices little Timmy in the back of the classroom wriggling around and desperately trying to hide something. "Timmy, what do you have there?" "Nothing," little Timmy said. While still fidgeting, the teacher walks up to him and sternly says, "Timmy, show me what you're hiding right now." Little Timmy stops fidgeting and opens his jacket, revealing a small kitten. "Timmy, you know, you're not supposed to bring pets to school. You have to leave him at home. Timmy suddenly bursts into tears and stammers, but I can't leave him at home. If I leave him at home, he'll die. The teacher gasps and says, "What do you mean? He'll die," sniffling and sobbing. Timmy replies, "Because while I was getting ready today, I overheard my dad say to my mommy, 'I'm going to eat that pussy when the kids leave for school.'"
Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it! Make your dreams come true!